Hey, Cheese, we were just asking Scott about this, and obviously you guys have pretty much kept basically the same staff together here at Mississippi State since y'all got here. I know you and Roger and Chris are all at Indiana together, but just what has that continuity meant to you guys, and how has that kind of helped you guys shape what you guys have wanted to do here?
Yeah, man, appreciate the question. Man, it's just kind of just feel comfortable with each other, and having kind of the same idea and the same, one voice when we're talking to everybody. So it's kind of been a good group. Tough to leave, obviously, having opportunities and things like that, but just felt like this place is right. And coming down here was a special group and a special talented group, and kind of really, I've been with Coach Lamonis probably even all the way back even when I was a player. So I've been fortunate enough to be around him and enjoying him, obviously. But no, I think it's just kind of been a comfortable group, and it's the SEC, hard to leave.
David?
Coach, one theme for this year is, well, this team's going to be good. This team's going to be good. Is this a year where everybody's going to be good? And what is it like coaching when baseball could be at an all-time level?
Well, that's a really good question because I think we're really talented and and have a chance to have a lot of success. But I think you can say that for everybody in this league. It's just such a unique year having COVID and having so many players come back and only having a 5-round draft. You could possibly look up and have so many teams that don't make Omaha that have very much and just have a lot of talent. And so, we're ready to jump out there and get on the field. I know that, those guys who are our opponents are going to have really good teams too. So, yeah, it's going to be a unique year having so much talent back that probably would have been gone in the draft.
Along that same line, and you filling your positions out there this year, yes, you've got some known quantities, but you've got some young guys who expected to walk in here in 2021 and have jobs waiting for them, and now they either have to wait their turn or just go beat somebody out.
I think you nailed it on the head. It's wait your turn or beat somebody out. And so that's the positive when you walk out there to practice or scrimmage every day. Everybody's fighting for a job, and that's the exciting piece is, there's only a few spots out there. I feel comfortable saying that, yeah, these guys are going to be probably in a lineup every day, but there's a lot of guys fighting for positions and just playing time in general and doing in the midweeks and going into the SEC play.
Go to Joel.
Geez, when you look at your catching position back there, you got a couple of guys with Luke Hancock and Logan Tanner that, I think Luke was a little bit banged up last year, I guess, but we know the promise that he has at the plate and everything else. Seems like you got a good group back there, and that's not that you mentioned like Case Garner and things. So I guess just as a whole, what's your thoughts on where you guys stand? Because it seems like you got a pretty solid group no matter who you run out there.
Yeah, I'm spoiled on that spot. I give all the other coaches and probably other position groups a hard time. I think we're the best unit on the field. I just have I have mature, older players. Obviously LT is a very special catcher. I think he can do it all. And then Luke Hancock is solid too. I know he was a banged up, last year, but I think he's coming off and feeling pretty good right now. And both those guys, I feel very comfortable if you run them out there. You have a great chance of winning and catching this pitching staff. That's the part of, I give my guys credit that, you're catching a minor league pitching staff is what I give them. And I give them a lot of credit for doing a really good job on that. And then Case Gardner coming in, just being a mature, older player, loud, very good communicator when he's behind the plate. So I feel very comfortable if he had to jump in there and be in the mix, then we want to skip a beat.
Go back to David.
You mentioned having those experienced guys in this pitching staff. Can you overrate what it means having guys who've been under SEC fire or big game fire, handling some, let's be honest, some alpha dog starters and relievers out there who know how they want to throw, but the catcher's got to work with them or sometimes tell them what to throw?
I think Coach Foxhall is probably better at answering that question. I tell our guys, you have to be leaders behind the plate. It just comes with the position. But you have to be on the same page with the pitching staff we have. And I give a lot of pride that we catch a lot of bullpens, and you have to get really familiar with what pitches that guys have and what pitches you have hard times catching, or maybe they don't feel it that day. That's the one thing with communicating, coming into the dugout, getting with myself and Coach Fox and a pitcher of that game, just trying to feel what's working best with them, and then allowing them to kind of have freedom to shake if they need to and kind of work with one-on-one with that pitcher as the game goes on.
Ben?
You kind of touched on it there, but just in terms of having the guys that you do have at catcher, how much is it going to be, day-by-day thing with just seeing who's pitching, which guys match up with each other well? I guess how do you kind of go about balancing that?
Yeah, well, good question. I think it's going to kind of play itself out as the season kind of goes on, and kind of getting familiar with the guys back there, and maybe just looking at all the data kind of comes into what is going to work as far as maybe the best guy catching a certain guy at that time. So I feel comfortable with running any of our guys out there. I think as the season goes on, I think we'll have a better idea of what is working, and then in the dugout and how things work whenever we're kind of going over our data.
I mean, in a perfect world, would you have one guy go and catch 55 games or whatever? But, I mean, do you feel pretty comfortable balancing it out?
That's a good question. I think you got to balance it out. I would hate to just have one guy back there and then at the end of the year he's tired. I've had that happen to me before because we only had one guy that was able to do it, and we felt comfortable with him. I feel comfortable with all three of them, and so hopefully we don't have to do it, and no injuries or anything COVID-wise comes up with that. But I'm hoping that those guys can all kind of split some time, and then let it play itself out. If a guy takes over and wins the job and it's his to lose, then we'll let that see kind of what happens.
Back to David.
It's the eternal question about catching. You want the guy out there, the best receiver, the best manager, but you still need somebody who can swing the bat. Who's looking good at the plate of your group?
Well, I would hope that I have both my guys in the lineup. I'm going to be a little biased. I think, they've both been looking great so far. I think maybe Luke's an underdog as far as not many people knowing how talented he is. I know the numbers probably didn't show last year, but he came back strong, looks healthy. He's having a really good off season right now as far as this fall, and then coming into spring training. And then LT, he's got the power potential to really put up some numbers that I'm hoping that he will this year, because just having some experience now and playing good competition last year and into the summer, and then you get to see our guys all the time. So I'm hoping that we have an opportunity to get those guys all in the mix. It can get challenging with the lineup, but we'll figure out how to get those guys in there.
Joel.
Kind of along those lines, this may be more of a question for Chris, but is there any hesitancy to putting, let Logan catch, let Luke DH, and then, you may end up in a spot where, if a guy gets hurt, you may lose the DH kind of thing. Of course, I know you got Case too, so maybe that makes you more comfortable. I guess just what's kind of the staff mentality? Is there any hesitancy at all to using a catcher as your DH too?
Yes. I mean, but then also, who's the hottest hitter at the time, and then you want to be able to put a certain guy in. Maybe it's, Luke's time to catch, and maybe we need a right-handed bat, so a Case Gardner can fall into a DH, or an LT can fall into a DH role, or the other way. You just have to play it right and hope things work out. I know that's probably one of the hardest things. I know he talked about it yesterday, but it's challenging to try to put that lineup together, especially whenever you have guys that are hot, and you don't want to lose the DH, but if a guy gets hurt, how does the catching thing? But that's going back to talking about having all three guys and making sure they're ready to go at game time.
Ben.
I guess I'm jumping back here a bit, but when Chris did tell you that he was coming to Mississippi State, I guess what was your kind of timeline in terms of joining him, and what was that kind of like, and how quick was that to putting y'all together?
Yeah, it was pretty quick. Obviously it's a different role here, but in a good situation. This brought me closer to home. I grew up in Dallas. I gave him a hard time when I came up to Louisville to play for him. He told me, yeah, Louisville, big Southern state, and it snowed on me like the first time ever. And I hated it up there for a time being. Best decision that it's ever happened in my life. And then he moved me to Indiana, so we went even more north. But no, it was a good decision. The timeline happened pretty quick. I talked to a lot of people, and hey, they said, man, you got to go. This is be a good spot for you. I'm excited. I made the move. Maybe would have asked to say maybe I could have jumped in there and tried to go for the head job at Indiana at the time, but brain wasn't there at the time. Probably wasn't ready for it, and excited to be here now.
Got to be excited to start the season in Dallas too, I'm sure, right?
It's home for me. So anytime we have a Texas trip like the Frisco or that trip here going to Dallas, I'm excited about it. I got a lot of family and friends that hopefully have a chance to come to the ballpark. It's the first time for me going back to this ballpark. I know in high school I played at the old ballpark in Arlington a lot, but for me, I'm excited to get there.
Back to Dave.
Since you're going to Dallas, for those of us who make it or fans out there who make it, give us a restaurant recommendation for the weekend.
It's a good one. So Dallas, I like Gloria's is a nice little Mexican chain that was really small back whenever I was growing up, but it's kind of blown up. So Gloria's, if you're looking for good Mexican food, the brisket tacos, even though it sounds brisket, it would be like barbecue, but they make an unbelievable brisket tacos.